This is the newsroom.
This is the newsroom for today, Thursday, October 30th, 2025. We are broadcasting to you on E1, SKAR TV, NTN, and TARZEE TV in Bartica. In the headlines, 2 persons are killed in separate road accidents on Thursday, including an Annandale Secondary School student who was struck by a police officer. The government is moving to impose tougher penalties for reckless driving, says Minister Walrond. Police say the suspect in the gas station bombing conducted surveillance hours before the deadly attack. $5.5 billion Wismar housing project is advancing with first set of allottees set to begin home construction by Christmas. And in sport, GMR&SC working closely with law enforcement to ensure smooth flow of traffic for Caribbean Clash of Champions, and Guyana lauded for supporting anti-doping development. With the news, I am Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for joining us. We start off by telling you that the Annandale Secondary School community is in mourning following the tragic death of 15-year-old student Navindra Mahes, who was struck and killed on Thursday morning along the Success Public Road on the east coast of Demerara. The accident occurred at around 7:30 during the busy morning rush as Mahes, who lived at Le Souvenir, was attempting to cross the road at a pedestrian crossing. The vehicle involved, motorcar PAB 214, was being driven by a 35-year-old female police corporal who was traveling west along the northern carriageway when the third-lane system was in effect. Police investigators said video footage revealed that the teenager had been standing on the median facing north before stepping onto the crossing, at which point he was struck by the front left side of the car. The impact flung him into the air, leaving him with severe head injuries and a fractured leg. Public-spirited persons rushed to the unconscious teen to the Georgetown Public Hospital, where doctors battled to save him. However, he succumbed to his injuries at 9:56, despite extensive emergency treatment. His body now lies at a hospital mortuary, awaiting postmortem examination. The Ministry of Home Affairs described the incident as a moment of deep sorrow, extending condolences to the students' families, friends, and schoolmates. Police ranks have been stationed at the hospital to support the grieving relatives, while the officer involved has been placed under close arrest as investigations continue. Authorities have been assured that the matter is being treated with the utmost seriousness and transparency as the probe seeks to determine how the tragedy unfolded on what should have been an ordinary school morning.
It was a jolly party. He was a mannered. I was there ready to go to work, and I had a phone call saying that my son got hit down the road and they're taking him to Georgetown Public Hospital. So with it, I just put off the phone, I get a taxi, and I head down here. My last conversation with him this morning was that he called to me 2 times, Mommy, and I answered him. He said, I'm leaving. I said, okay, go take your time on the road. He was very careful. It's almost 4 years now he's on that road. Taking bus to go to school and coming home. It's 4 years now. The main thing right about now, I need to see justice for my son. That's all I'm looking forward to.
Now, Azim Khan, a 32-year-old resident of Bath Settlement on the west coast of Berbice, died on Thursday after he crashed into a concrete fence at the No. 2 Public Road, West Coast Berbice. Police headquarters reported that Khan was riding his motorcycle, SKAR 3710, at around 5:46 along the No. 2 Public Road when he reportedly crashed into a concrete fence there. It was noted that Khan was speeding and lost control of the bike while negotiating a left turn. He then collided with the concrete fence on the northern side of the road.
Some people claim that say you have a blame on easier. You got reaching early this morning. Some accident the motorbike where you catch truck is a motorbike. So I wake up now, usual and 3 o'clock, I cook, pack it out, and he left 5:30 house. Well, he left good as usual. And like, a little after a while, my mother called and asked me if Amir call you, tell she said how Amir meet up with an accident. And after hearing that, I saw I call the phone and get reached out. Still when I come in, well, the taxi man end up dropping my number too. When I reach there, I tell the driver, don't, I don't want to come out because I don't want to see. So I got in now, we down Kerry. I just see motorbike alone, damage. And police was there. That was it. Trying. Nothing else.
How you feel losing your husband is such a
I really
tragic
feel couldn't take it anymore. Kindly left on the baby too.
Minister of Home Affairs Minister Walrond has announced that the government is actively working to amend the Road Traffic Act to impose stiffer penalties for traffic violations, including reckless driving. In an interview with the newsroom, Walrond revealed that discussions are already being held with the traffic chief, Mahindra Singh, to identify areas where the existing laws can be strengthened. She explained that while many of the laws are already in place, authorities believe that current fines and penalties are not severe enough to deter dangerous behavior on the roadways.
The traffic chief has already, and I have already sat down and dealt with the different penalties and amendments in the Road Traffic Act. I chuckle because it's one of the things that we have spoken about. We're both very passionate about that the enforcement of, we have some of the laws, but to make it to make fines a little heavier, penalties a little stiffer in terms of the use of our road, looking at systems, perhaps a demerit system. So we're actively looking at this with the AG office in terms of making amendments to our traffic laws so people really feel the use, let them understand. The punishment ought to suit the negligence with which people are currently using the road. I believe that law and legislation treats with the social ills that we're dealing with, and one of it is the use of the terrible use of our roadways. So amendments in traffic, several penalties and the way in which we undercut the use, having several infractions, that it should proportionately be more serious penalty the more infractions you have, and those kinds of things have not yet been in our laws.
We tell you now that investigators probing Sunday's gas station attack have uncovered new details suggesting that the prime suspect and his accomplices carried out a surveillance operation before bombing the Regent and King Street, Georgetown business.
I'm back here at the scene at the mobile gas station on Regent and King Streets, Georgetown, where the powerful explosion occurred on Sunday night. It has been days since, and investigators probing the attack have uncovered new details. Those details suggest that the prime suspect, Daniel Alexander Ramirez Pidumo, and his accomplices carried out a surveillance operation before bombing the gas station. This was confirmed by Crime Chief Wendell Blanham. Now for a walkthrough of the details of how they actually did this. Blanham told the newsroom that during questioning, it was revealed that sometime between 11 hours and noon on Sunday, Daniel and three of his accomplices, a man and a female, both Venezuelan nationals, and a Guyanese hire car driver, traveled to Georgetown in a motor car. That car was recovered by the police. Daniel, who is a Venezuelan national, is among several others currently in custody as part of the investigation. Blanham on Tuesday told a press conference that Daniel arrived in Guyana around 8 hours on Sunday, illegally via boat from Venezuela. The group, Blanham said, parked the car somewhere here within the vicinity of the gas station. This is on King Street, in the heart of Georgetown. The female then exited the vehicle and went to KFC, which is attached to the gas station, which is right behind me, where she purchased food for Daniel and the other Venezuelan. It was during that time that the Venezuelan suspects reportedly conduct a surveillance of the gas station. They observed the surrounding and movements before executing the act. Afterwards, the suspects journey to Region 3. This revelation was made 2 days after Daniel's arrest. Daniel was apprehended in Borjanogen, Region 3 on Tuesday. His clothing, believed to have been worn during the attack, was recovered shortly before this. Police have confirmed that Daniel is from one of Venezuela's most notorious criminal networks, known as the R organization. Photographs have since surfaced of Daniel posing with guns. Now here is a recap of the actual bombing. Daniel has since reportedly confessed to his involvement in the crime. 6-year-old Soraya Bourne was killed and several of her relatives were injured while the family was out to purchase KFC. It was a weekly Sunday routine for the family. CCTV footage shows Daniel arriving at the gas station around 18:15 hours Sunday carrying a black bag. He attempted to place the bag in a bin but was stopped by a pump attendant. He then left the bag near the southwestern side of the compound, closed the gas cylinder cages, and walked away. At approximately 19:36 hours, an explosion erupted from the same area, damaging the fuel station building, several vehicles, and nearby structures. In response, President Dr. Irfan Ali has ordered a full-scale investigation, and Minister of Home Affairs Minister Walrond announced that the government will pursue the death penalty in this case. Reporting for the newsroom, Charlotte Bacchus.
Now, following months of mounting public concern, the Georgetown City Council has decided to move forward with an agreement to allow the use of a section of the Farnham ground by Mays School. Georgetown Mayor Alfred Mentor confirmed with the newsroom that the agreement for approval by the council will see the school and the community both using the ground.
Georgetown Mayor Alfred Mentor has confirmed that the Georgetown City Council will allow the use of a section of the Farnham ground by Mays School. That is the ground behind me. The agreement for approval by the council will see the school and the community both using the ground. The mayor said the agreement was not met positively by all parties. Mentor said, "We will move to have that draft agreement and signing with the school," end quote. This agreement will allow the school to use the ground until December 31, 2026, after which the school must vacate. The school is also asked to pay $2.5 million over the approved period for the use of public land. This includes a security deposit of $500,000, and $1.5 million will be held as a restoration bond, ensuring the area is returned to its original condition after the school leaves. It was also suggested that the money be used to uplift the community. Mentor said the council is open to ongoing dialogue and expects further consultation on how the monies collected from the school will be spent. The school's original building was destroyed by a fire on March 5, 2025, and later granted approval by the mayor to use the ground for 1 year. While rebuilding its permanent structure, the original building, however, no permission was given for the construction of permanent buildings, and the ground is to be returned to its original state once the school vacates. These prefab structures behind me caused concern among the community members. For the newsroom, Lizina Yearwood.
Now, residents of Linden's Wismar community who are allocated house lots under Phase 1 of the government's major housing development will soon be able to start construction of their homes as early as December this year. Minister of Housing and Water Colin Crowell made the announcement on Wednesday during a site visit to the new Wismar housing scheme in Region 10, where infrastructural works are rapidly advancing. He was joined by Minister within the Ministry, Vanessa Ben.
Here, this is both Phase 1 and 2 Wismar. You recall we had allocation exercises earlier this year, and so we were able to reduce the pending applicants in Region 10. And we're pleased now to the Phase 1 of where we're at. All persons before November is finished can be rest assured we'll be able to see their lots. Those remaining in Phase 1, that is. Phase 2 is now commencing, and while May is the completion date for those persons in the phase 2, we have implored on the contractors because we want them to finish ahead of time. These are all allocated areas, so persons are waiting to see their lot to be able to construct. And secondly, a lot of work is still ahead for under the Ministry of Housing as part of our program. So we've implored on the contractors of an advantageous for them if they're able to complete their work ahead of time. The phase 1 has an investment of over close to $2 billion. And the phase 2 has an investment of $3.5 billion. So that will tell you the magnitude of the investment here. We have not allocated all the lots here. In under a week, we'll be calling all the contractors in to engage them. Want to reinforce of the urgency, the necessity. What we do here has bearing on the livelihood of persons. And so there are persons who are awaiting lands. Historically, because of the volume, we have not been able to do the land preparation and then allocate. We have started the process very early. So we want to reinforce in terms of being able to meet timelines as well to complete those projects. We want to push home ownership. That's the bottom line. And we want to, based on what we are doing and what in terms of the expression of interest that we just went out, which is closed now. And so the team is doing the necessary engagement and evaluation, is to be able to, from a governmental level, push the whole aspect of giving persons an opportunity to own their home as quickly as possible, not having to have to go through the hassles of dealing on their own to find time off from work, for dealing with contractors, and all the nuances that happen when you're building your own home.
Still to come, US-based Guyanese rapper Jay Anderson is set to drop his debut EP after releasing soulful single Let's Go, and final touches on the way as Berbice Expo 2025 opens on Friday with expanded showcases and tighter security. Stay tuned. Welcome back. This is the newsroom. Now, an alarming increase in the number of young people affected by stroke in Guyana has prompted renewed calls for awareness and prevention. In observance of World Stroke Day 2025, the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation on Thursday hosted an educational activity aimed at spreading awareness about the threat of stroke. Neurologists at the hospital spoke to the newsroom about how to recognize the early signs of stroke, understand the importance of seeking immediate medical care, and the available treatment options and rehabilitation services.
Today we're observing World Stroke Day, and this year's theme is bringing stroke advocacy and awareness together to drive action, and the slogan is "Every minute counts." So I would like to touch on something that's very important. A lot of Guyanese in general, sometimes we don't know how to recognize a stroke when it's happening, and oftentimes patients, they come to the hospital a bit too late, and some of the complications that we could have otherwise prevent, they end up having to live a long life of disability. And I would like to at least impart what are the signs and symptoms, things that you can look for in somebody that might be having a stroke. So we like to use the acronym BFAST, where we have balance, a sudden onset of balance dizziness in combination with one of these other things. For example, sudden vision loss. A patient might be having, what Guyanese like to say, the face twisting on one side or might be pulling on one side. The other thing is the arms and leg. They might be unable to move the one side of the body. And also very important, the speech. Persons might have a sudden onset of associated speech disorder. You would hear they would have a sort of speech that's slurring. They would like talk and like, and the words would not come out right. These combination of signs and symptoms, the person would have a high possibility of having a stroke. And for T, what we do if we see somebody's having a stroke, right away we call the ambulance, we get them to the hospital so we can help them.
The main risk factors for stroke includes hypertension, diabetes, smoking, and high cholesterol. We aim to improve patients' outcome with strokes and to prevent future strokes by advocating for management of all of these risk factors. In addition to the above mentioned factors, other modifiable risk factors can include things like alcohol consumption, unhealthy diet, persons not having enough exercise. There's some cardiac conditions also.
Stroke as it is still remains the third leading cause for death worldwide. It's basically where there is insufficient blood supply to the brain or a ruptured blood vessel that can cause a person to develop a stroke. Now, annually 15 million persons are affected with stroke. 5 million of those persons will develop disability. 5 million will die, unfortunately, and 5 million will recover. So our aim today is to spread that awareness, to bridge that gap, using those 5 million persons, basically helping as much persons as we can in Guyana to decrease the amount of stroke patients annually.
When patients get to us and they already had a stroke, it's difficult because now is the years leading up to the stroke is when we should have been paying attention to our health, eating the right things, exercising, being active, being healthy, also following up at clinic, using your medications. All these things are important because preventing the risk factors or combating the risk factors is how we go about preventing strokes.
Every day, from what we have observed, is that quite a large amount of persons come into the hospital, both old and young persons affected with stroke. We've been getting a lot of younger persons now, and we're still investigating as to the reason why those persons are coming into the hospital with stroke.
What we have noticed over the past few years is that there's an alarming number of young patients with stroke, which is not something that we anticipate. Stroke in the young is not as common as stroke in the elderly, and it's becoming very concerning, hence why we're trying to ensure that persons are adequately evaluated for their stroke and to identify their particular risk factors, because risk factors in the younger population are not necessarily the risk factors that we would find in older persons, even though they can coexist.
Our main motto in rehabilitation is life does not stop after you have a stroke. So with rehabilitation, we have occupational therapists, physiotherapists, and speech and language therapists, right? With occupational therapy, what we're able to do is we're able to teach patients to function within their capacity. We work hand in hand with speech therapy that helps you to strengthen up after you have a stroke. because what you want to do is you'd want to be strong and healthy instead of lying down in your bed all the time. So to be able to sit up from a chair, move around, physiotherapy is really important through exercise to help you to regain those strengths in your body. With occupational therapy, after you get those strengths, we're able to help you to be independent as possible.
Pesticides Awareness Week is being observed in Guyana from October 26th to November 1st, 2025, under the theme, Make Food Safe, Not Poisonous, Use Pesticides Wisely. In this video, Communication Officer at the Pesticides and Toxic Chemicals Control Board, Tiana Jordan, speaks about the role of farmers in producing food that is always safe.
Farmers are really at the heart of food production in Guyana, and therefore they have a huge responsibility to play when it comes to ensuring food safety. Each decision that farmers make in the fields not only affect their crops, but it also affects the people who would be eating that food. For example, deciding on what pesticides to use, when and how to use these pesticides, and even when to harvest the crops after applying pesticides. These decisions are very important. It's very important for farmers to read and follow all safety guidelines. For example, there's a saying that we say, the label is the law. So reading and following the label will tell the farmer everything that they need to do as it relates to applying pesticides. What I want farmers to note is that spraying or applying more pesticides on their crops doesn't mean that they'll be getting a better result. Rather, this would increase the risk of pesticide residues lingering on the food. As consumers, we have a huge responsibility to play in ensuring that the food we're eating is safe and healthy. We may not be the one applying the pesticides, but it comes down to the decisions we're making on a daily basis. For example, simple things like washing and peeling our fruits and vegetables before eating or cooking them, removing the leaves from those leafy greens. These can help reduce any pesticide residue that may be lingering on our food. It is also very important for us to take the time to read and learn more about pesticide safety. I want to tell persons to not be afraid to ask questions. Ask vendors and farmers about their produce, about how it's being grown, if they're using pesticides, what type of pesticides they're using. Asking these questions help us to hold each other accountable, creating a culture of food security. The theme, Make Food Safe, Not Poisonous, Use Pesticides Wisely, is a bold theme because it basically reminds us that while pesticides are useful, they are in fact poisons. Pesticides are essential in helping farmers to protect their crops, improving yields, and also supporting Guyana's agriculture, which is very important for the development of our economy and food security. The Pesticides Board is basically the regulatory agency here in Guyana responsible for the management of pesticides and toxic chemicals. So our role is to manage these substances in a life cycle approach, from the moment that these chemicals enter the country to how they're being distributed, to how they're being sold, to even how they're being stored and transported. We manage this in a life cycle approach. At the Pesticides Board, we ensure that only approved and registered pesticides are allowed into the country. We have inspectors who would conduct countrywide inspections at various ports of entry, storage facilities, and even retail outlets to ensure that safety standards are being followed. We also take training very seriously, training and awareness rather. We work closely with farmers, pest control operators. We also work closely with chemical transporters to teach them basically how to safely handle pesticides and toxic chemicals. When it comes to public awareness, we do a lot of outreaches and so on. For example, during this month of agriculture, and also as we observe Pesticide Awareness Week, we're doing a lot of school visits. We're working with farmers when it comes to social media campaigns and whatnot. You know, these are all things that we're doing here at the Pesticide Board to ensure that people know how to use and handle pesticides safely.
Now, rapper Jermaine Anderson Walcott, better known as Jay Anderson, a US-based Guyanese, is gearing up to release his first EP with one of the singles, Let's Go, already out. Speaking with the newsroom, Jay, who migrated to the US at a very young age, said he sees life in color and this inspires his passion for music. Now he's about to drop Villian, which will be released early next year.
I'm inspired by hope. I'm inspired by just people doing good. I'm inspired by art. I see things differently. The way I see things, I think I see life in color. So when I also see other people being colorful and not just black and white, I'm inspired by it. There's a certain essence here that we have that has a lot to do with how I create my music. So that's why I'm doing it all home now and then taking it across the world with me, because I want the world to see what I see. So the sound, the sound of the songs that I create, or the type of music that I'll choose to write to, I grew up listening to, well, not listening to, because I didn't want to listen to that kind of music, like oldies and reggae and things like that. I didn't listen to that by choice. Growing up, I learned to really appreciate the soulfulness of the songs, because I am working on an album, and funny enough, this is going to be my first project, a first EP. It's going to be about 6 to 8 songs on there. I don't necessarily want them to have any expectations, but to be ready to feel joy, feel pain. So there may be some songs that'll make you cry on there. Maybe some songs that's gonna make you laugh, make you happy, or even make you think of your own experiences of things that you want to say but you can't necessarily say. The name of the album is called Villain.
The Berbice Expo and Trade Fair 2025 opens on Friday, October 31st at the Welfare Community Center ground in East Kanji and will conclude on Monday, November 3rd. The event is organized by the Central Quarantine Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber's president, Punai Bigroad, provided an update to reporters about ongoing preparations and security concerns. Tickets have been increased from $500 to $1,000 this year. The expo aims to showcase the vibrancy of Berbice economy and its readiness for modernization.
With the newfound wealth in Guyana right now, Berbice is going places. I mean, there's a lot of development happening in Berbice. I mean, if we start from Palmyra, recently we had the minister opening a new housing scheme on East Bank, a $7 billion project. We have the Exxon Island Gas School, which is near completion in a year or two. We have the hospitality hospital. We have the new 4-lane road. So we have to be prepared. I mean, we have to be prepared. We want people, we want business to come and showcase, to tell the public what's going on. We don't want people to be left behind. So we are paying a lot of emphasis on making this expo more to people, let their bridges be built. The system is that we have met with all the beverage companies who normally sell beverages and also the food vendors. And it's a strict, they're very, very, very strict contract we signed with them that no glass bottle is being prohibited on the ground, right? So if the beverage company do bring bottles to the ground, they have to pour it out into cups and they would distribute it that way. But what sometimes we find is that in every organization or everything going on, there are small people, sometimes people go defense here, there, somehow or the other, they still get bottle on the ground and they get there. Now, this is a quick example, and this is a for people to the public. Please, this is, don't encourage those people who are not going to pour something out these bottles and give you, don't support their business. And there's a policy that since we have had Expo, no firearm be allowed into the ground. So if you as long as your firearm, licensed firearm holder, if you come with your firearm to the Expo, we'll ask you, or the police would ask us, carry you to the nearest police station to lodge your firearm. And I must say that I'm very proud to say that over the years, we have, not that maybe there was, but not that I'm aware of, Expo has been incident-free. Maybe there were little hiccups here there, but nothing major. I must take this opportunity to commend the Guyana Police Force for doing a wonderful job. And added to that, the chamber we always invest in private security firm. This year, we are having sheriff security firm. Plus, we are having some plainclothes guys going to be parading through the activity, through the ground. They'll be there undercover to see what's going on. That's good.
But in news and returns, the financial, weather, and bridge report, along with sport. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Newsroom. Now for a look at what's happening in sport. We're starting us off with some motor racing news. The Guyana Motor Racing and Sports Club, that's the GMR&SC, is working closely with law enforcement to ensure a smooth flow of traffic to and from the South Dakota circuit for this weekend's Caribbean Clash of Champions race meet. Officials of the GMR&SC and the Guyana Police Force earlier this week conducted visits along the East Bank Demerara roadway to identify points that could create traffic congestion and put systems in place to minimize or avoid such from occurring. President of the club, Mahindra Rajpuru, speaking at a press conference on Wednesday, assured that all systems are in place to ensure smooth access to and from the racetrack.
I know people have concerns about the traffic on the East Bank. Yesterday, we would have met with the police and the Ministry of Public Works and drove through the complete East Bank and looked at all the problem points, including the contractor that is doing the East Bank Road. So it has made clear that no construction will go on the road for the weekend. So that is taken away all the heavy equipment on the road. It is already, police have put things in place where they will have patrols to mitigate encounter any traffic buildup as soon as it happens, within minutes. So to take care of that, we have, for some extent, we have that covered. Getting into the ground, the facility at South Dakota, you can use both the airport entrance and the highway because both are in good condition. You will know that from the airport side is asphaltic road, and we have done some preparation on the highway side.
Boxing news now. Guyana's boxing pride, Olympian Kevin Alicock and standout Joel Williamson will depart the country on Friday for Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, to represent the nation at the Islamic Solidarity Games. The prestigious multi-sport event gathers athletes from across the Middle East, Africa, and Europe, and this year marks the second time that the Saudi Arabian Olympic Committee has hosted the Games, following its inaugural edition in Mecca in 2005. Both Alicock and Williamson are seasoned campaigners on the international circuit, and their inclusion underscores Guyana's growing presence in global boxing. Alicock, who recently transitioned to the professional ranks, remains eligible for amateur competition under AIBA regulations. A proven competitor, Williamson has represented Guyana at the Caribbean Boxing Championship and the AMBC Elite Championship, showcasing strong defensive fundamentals and a punishing counterpunch. According to the Guyana Boxing Association President Steve Ninval, the Islamic Solidarity Games will provide both pugilists with another opportunity to test themselves against elite opposition on a grand stage. Guyana has been commended for its role in anti-doping development, with local stakeholders coming in for high praise from the World Anti-Doping Agency, that's WADA. Speaking recently at the Doping Control Officers Training, which was staged by WADA, the Caribbean Regional Anti-Doping Organization, and the Guyana Olympic Association, WADA Development Manager Carlin Ebeer spoke highly of the country's efforts to tackle doping in sport. Ebeer was WADA's representative, which attracted participation from 10 countries.
I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the strong commitment of the government of Guyana to the fight against doping in sport. Your leadership and continued support are essential to advancing clean sport initiatives in the region. It's also a pleasure to recognize that Guyana member country representative Dr. Karen Pilgrim now serves as the newly elected chair of the Caribbean Regional Anti-Doping Organization, demonstrating the country's active role and dedication to anti-doping development.
Ebeer noted that WADA's mission is to lead a collaborative world movement in tackling doping in sport, and the vision is to ensure fairness and integrity for all athletes.
While WADA is the independent body that oversees compliance with the World Anti-Doping Code, we are much more than that. My daily work involves close collaboration with regional anti-doping organizations, such as the Caribbean RADO, to help member countries like Guyana strengthen their anti-doping programs and to, over time, maybe become self-sufficient and independent. Now, we accomplish this support by offering member countries capacity building initiatives, providing access to learning platforms such as ADEL, offering virtual and in-person trainings through the Global Learning Development Framework Program, which is also called the GLDF, and supporting testing through the testing grant. Anti-doping education for athletes and support personnel is equally key in the development of a robust and credible program.
The forum brought together representatives from Aruba, Barbados, Curacao, Dominica, Guyana, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, and the Turks and Caicos Island. The primary objective was to build capacity across the region by empowering participants to execute sample collection processes confidently in accordance with the World Anti-Doping Code. The workshop came at a crucial time as Caribbean nations prepare for a packed 2026 international sporting calendar. Major events looming include the CAC Games in the Dominican Republic, the Commonwealth Games in Scotland, and the Youth Olympic Games in Senegal. The training provided participants with the theoretical background and practical skills necessary to ensure high standards of testing and compliance across their respective territories. Now for some cycling news. Young Guyanese Aaron Newton said it was a good experience competing in the Caribbean Cycling Championship in Belize recently. The son of popular rider Raymond Steely Newton, Aaron secured an impressive second-place finish in the under-23 time trial, underlining his potential as one for the future. What was remarkable about Newton's performance is that he captured the silver medal riding a road bike and not a time trial bike. With his confidence now sky high, the KFC Evolution rider is eyeing gold at the next Caribbean Championship.
The race was a nice race, great experience. Hopefully next year do better, bring home the gold. Yeah, nice experience, beautiful country. Yeah.
Tell us a bit about the work you did prior to going over there for that championship and some of the lessons that you would have learned.
So the work I did was some hard training, some track training and those stuff. But next year, I'll be training very hard to get a goal. I didn't have a time trial bike, that's why I got second. But to me, I did real great. Out in the road race, I wasn't feeling as good as in the time trial. So that affected me in the race.
Cricket news now. Jemima Rodriguez hit a remarkable unbeaten century as India completed a record chase to claim a stunning 5-wicket win over Australia and reached the Women's World Cup final. Set 339 to win after a wonderful 100 from Australian opener Phoebe Litchfield, India held their nerves in a mammoth pursuit with Rodriguez and skipper Harmanpreet Kaur leading the way with a 167-run stand. Harmanpreet fell for 89 with 113 still needed, but Rodriguez remained, reaching her 100 from 115 balls, and she was there at the end as the highest successful chase in women's ODI history was achieved with 9 balls to spare. Rodriguez was in tears as the Indian players streamed onto the field, with Harmanpreet Kaur hitting the winning run in front of a delirious home crowd to set up a final against South Africa on Sunday. This game in Navi, Mumbai will go down as an instant classic, and with the defending champions dumped out, there will be a new name on the trophy this weekend. And some unfortunate news to end tonight. An Australian teenager has died after he was hit by a cricket ball during a practice session in Melbourne. Ben Austin, aged 17, was training with a helmet but no neck guard in cricket nets on Tuesday when he was hit in the neck by a ball thrown using a handheld ball launcher. Emergency workers attended the scene before Ben was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. He was put on life support but died on Thursday. Ben's dad, Jade Austin, said that the family was utterly devastated by the death, while Cricket Victoria said that the cricketing community from across the country would be mourning the teenager's passing. In 2014, Australian cricketer Phil Hughes died after being struck on the neck by a ball while batting in the Sheffield Shield. His death, for which the coroner ultimately found no one was to blame, sparked improvements to safety for those playing the sport. And with that, we've come to the end of the news for this evening. Of course, you can find updates on these and other stories on our website, newsroom.gy, and all social media platforms. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for watching. Be safe. See you next time.